have a language, and we all use words, and probably over the course of history there are some really marked times when words have been misunderstood and misused. And in fact, in our everyday lives, there are times where our words are misunderstood and misused. Sometimes it's just being misused like they're taken at face value, and we're not looking at the feeling or the intent or the intuition that lies under it. So here's a funny example. A dragon with some cool symbols underneath. The guy goes into a tattoo parlor and he says, I want a dragon with some really cool symbols underneath. And what does the tattoo guy? He just writes the words. You get it, right? Because that's kind of how life is. Sometimes where we think we're using the words we mean, but the language isn't quite coming through clearly and communicatively in the way that supports our highest and best good. So Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, invites us, as other New Thought writers do, to be precise with our language. And in the language of spirituality, we often hear, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Yes, you've heard that maybe once before? Or we are human beings desiring and wanting to recognize more and more of our spiritual nature. So when we tune into our spiritual nature, is it words that come to mind? Not always. More often it's a feeling or an intuition or a knowing, but we put words to it because we're so excited. We want to tell somebody. We want to have somebody be on the same page as us. So when we begin to look at the work within, the first question is, what is within? What is within? Charles Fillmore says, within, the inner chamber, is the place where we consciously meet God. And so the first question is, how does that resonate with you? How does that resonate with you? How does that resonate with you?
Because we use these words, you see, but I can tell by the look on your face, it's like, what does that really mean to me when I say to go within? We do that a lot in Unity because we are so excited about these things, like you said, but we really don't know what that is. And when I think of going within, a lot of times I use the heart as a placeholder for that because it helps me get away from the distraction in the outer. Because aren't we distracted sometimes in the outer?
No,
we can
never.
Except for Mindy, we can all get distracted from the outer. And so I like to use the heart as a place, and it's within my body, this within is bigger than that, but as a placeholder for getting away from the distraction. That's where I like to start this idea of going within.
What do you experience as you go within? Are any of you willing to share? Like what your sensation is or what your experience is?
Calm.
Calm.
Peace.
Peace. Bliss. Bill.
Like making eye contact with your heart.
It's like making eye contact with your heart.
The interconnectedness of the all.
The connectedness of the all. Mac, what did you say?
Tranquility.
Tranquility. What sensations do you experience in your body?
Serenity.
Serenity. Calm. Stillness. Excitement.
Relaxation.
Comfort. Relaxation.
Awareness.
Satisfaction. And I heard something else back here.
Awareness.
Awareness.
Knowing.
Knowing. Yeah. Try that on for a moment. What does your knowing feel like?
I think it's important to know what our knowing feels like because as we are in our lives in the outer as opposed to the within, we have that illusion that we're separate from God. We have a feeling that we're separate from God. A Course in Miracles really talks a lot about that. And Joel Goldsmith, he brings it right back together. He talks about that conscious communion with God. So it's not like God isn't here. It's not like God is gone anywhere or we've gone anywhere, but it's that conscious awareness that we are meeting God, that we are with God, that, oh, it's like a waking up.
Yeah. It's like I'm in connection. For me, I like that word. Some people don't. But I'm in connection. I'm plugged in, or I'm tuned in. And there's a particular feeling for me. It's a sense of awe. AWE. We talked about that in the 9 o'clock service a little bit. There's this sense of awe, so that there's this upwelling in me that feels so full that sometimes I will cry. Actually, the very first month, I think, or maybe 2, that I ever went to a Unity church, I cried every single service.
Yeah. So let's talk about the place. This place is a spiritual current in the cosmic ether in which we live. So the place is not a physical location in the universe, it's a current in that we live in all the time, and we can feel it when we direct our attention to Christ in prayer and meditation. How does this resonate with you? Do you feel that electric current or that spiritual current of the divine in your life all the time?
Well, maybe not all the time. Just saying.
When you direct your attention.
When you direct your attention, and that's the key, right? Yeah. We talked in the first service, one of the words that was used was alignment, because the current is always there. This potential exists, the perfection exists in its fullness all the time, but we feel as if we're separate. And so our idea is to direct our attention toward that which already is there in its fullness. Yeah. Then it works. Yeah.
And for me, directing that attention comes through prayer and meditation. It's my getting myself to sit down in the chair. That's the difficult part for me. That's where the challenge comes in most often for me. Because once I get myself settled in the chair, it's like this feeling of coming into my own awareness of the connection that's already been there, that I have drawn my attention away from. So then I get to give my generous attention to that thing that I call spirit.
The word enthusiasm, if you trace back the roots of enthusiasm, go to the Greek. En means within. And it doesn't mean the within that one of my prayer teachers at Unity Village used to do all the time. Hello, God. No, it doesn't mean that within. It means the within that we've been talking about. And theos means God. So the spiritual practice of enthusiasm is us being in God. It's us being passionate. It's about us being creative. It's about us being vitally alive. So now here are the next questions. Would you say that the practice of enthusiasm is the work within, directing our attention to our spiritual pattern for perfection? What connotations do you have for the term practice? And does your spiritual practice feel like work?
What is your spiritual practice? What are some things you guys do? Say that again?
Come here.
Come here to, yes, spiritual community is a great spiritual practice.
Meditation.
Meditation,
Active being.
journaling,
Morning spiritual reading.
morning spiritual readings,
Working with my hand.
working with your hands. I know that from pottery, and I'm thinking you might too. Being in the clay and feeling, when I'm in the flow, and I can throw a cylinder. I can center that piece of clay, but when I am not in the flow, my clay goes a little wonky.
So does practice mean the same thing as work? No. And so when you think of work, there are a lot of beliefs that we hold about work that are negative, like we work ourselves to death, we work our fingers to the bone, work is hard, all work and no play. There's a lot of other ones that you might be ready to shout out.
The 4-letter word.
Work is a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
The simple fact that we attach a lot of emotion to, by the way.
But there are also positive connotations about work. Unity Worldwide Ministries for many years had as a part of their mission statement, co-creating a world that works for all, right? And there are phrases like works for me, works like a charm. So what if work wasn't work, but it was work and it was easy?
Oh, there's an aha. Did you hear it?
Aha.
Did you hear? I love it.
I sew, and every time I use the sewing machine, it's like communing with God. He's right there. He's the machine or whatever. But it's like being right in His presence, and He's doing the work, not me.
Yeah, it's like it's flowing through you. Your
Yes,
creativity
yes,
is
yes.
just flowing through you.
Yes.
Yeah. What about some of the rest of you?
Being in nature, outside.
Yeah, outside, trees, water, animals.
Writing music.
Yeah. What is that thing that you love to do, that you can do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you just would want to do even more of it? Paint?
Paint, float like a jellyfish,
Play.
play.
Play, walk your dog?
Exercise.
Exercise. Oh, I want to analyze some of that from you. I would love to feel that way about exercise. Sharon? Healing work. Yeah. Sing. Dancing. Woo! Good.
Nothing.
Nothing.
That is so zen.
Oh, Phyllis. Swim. What else? Fishing. Cook. Oh, I want some of that too.
Dream.
Dream.
When I'm watering flowers or plants.
Oh, watering flowers and plants, being with them. Yes, Dave. Watching cute animal videos. Like the cat that runs around on the Roomba in a shark costume.
So I think what I've noticed about all these things is most probably you are in that moment, like Mindy was saying about pottery, you are just right there, you're nowhere else, am I right?
Right.
When you're doing these things. And what I believe happens that makes it not the traditional work is we've let go of all the stuff that's an obstacle or that could possibly block, and we simply are being. Yeah? Yeah. So the definition of work can be that. I mean, it doesn't have to be these affirmations of negative nature. You know, I love this work of mine because work is this. Work is being present. Work is being in love with it as if it is God itself right there.
Yeah, that it's effortless,
Effortless.
that it's pleasurable.
Effortless.
Yeah, Roxanne.
It's exercise in spirit.
Exercise in spirit.
Okay, so we're exercising spirit, we're not working spirit.
When you feel, when you're doing something or saying something that you know is God within coming out, you know, with people, whatever it is.
Inspired. Yeah. Inspired. Inspired.
Like those words that flow through us and we go, oh, who said that?
So if we recognize and remember and wake up to this in this moment, then how come we don't do it all the time? How come we have trouble getting in the chair? How come we have trouble with the recognition that it's a matter of just releasing and letting it go? The phenomenon that we deal with all the time, that's actually the illusion, the time, the space, the people, the experiences. That's not necessarily in our current. That's not necessarily a reflection of our spiritual pattern for perfection, which is what Unity calls the Christ. One thing that we heard earlier today in the earlier service was the current is like a laser beam, and it's up to us to set the mirrors so that they perfectly align with our lives. Did I say that right?
That's good.
You did
Yeah,
good.
that was brilliant. We were so impressed.
Thank you, Tom Andrews. He was great, wasn't he?
Yes. And he talked about work as that energy that's added to something to keep it in the flow.
The system.
The system.
The system.
Added to the system. So for me, meditation and prayer are one of those things that I add to the system to keep myself in the flow of that divine connection that's present, that I'm the one who's turned my back on, I'm the one who's taken my attention away from. And so then when I pray, meditate, when I dance, when I do a creative expression, then I bring myself back into the flow and back into the joy of life.
Well, that place that Charles Fillmore was talking about, for me, that place that Fillmore was talking about was when I get to that place where I'm no longer there.
Yeah.
No embodiment,
Yeah.
just there. And the effort to require that is keep letting go of the distractions, the mind stuff, just concentrating, moving towards that. And that's where the effort is, because it's not exactly easy to do all the time. But I know when I'm there, because now I'm not. Life just is.
Yes, you're part of everything that is.
Yeah. Nothing and nothingness. And nothingness. Yeah. And we've been talking in meditation class about complete unawareness. Or, Richard Levy might call it existence. Simply existence.
That mirror vision, I was thinking of it as changing our perception or changing our focus to get back in alignment instead of focusing on what's the past, future, what's happening in
On what
thoughts.
is monkeying up the works.
That.
Yeah.
It's as easy as like that dial in my new car. It's so easy now to focus the mirror instead of roll down the window and move it around.
It's like answering that question for yourself. Are you sure you wanted the smiles? You never have to think twice. You just say yes.
Yes.
Peace is when you're in nature, and calm and quiet.
Peace and calm and quiet.
So they're not words that we associate when we think of the work within. Because when we think of the work within, it sounds like a lot of us pull up nature and tranquility and serenity and calmness, and we don't ever hear each other say, I worked really hard for this experience of joy. I worked really hard to have this experience of love. Because joy is our divine nature. Joy and love are our divine nature. We are that spiritual pattern for perfection. So we are that love. We are spirit. We are truth. And we need those moments. We crave those moments. And sometimes we have to work to get to those moments. But once we're in those moments, we forget all of the rest of the phenomenon that's going on in our lives. If you want to put the Joseph Campbell quote up, it just captures it perfectly. And while that goes up, I want to thank you, Paula. I want to thank you, Nikki. I want to thank you guys for participating. Rich experience. Joseph Campbell says, you must have a room or a certain hour of the day when you do not know what was in the morning paper, when you do not know who your friends are, you don't know what you owe anybody or what they owe you, but a place where you can simply experience and bring forth what you are. What you are. You are lovable. You are powerful. You are beautiful. That's what you are. So to have this time to experience what you are and what you can be is a magnificent opportunity for a new birth. To step into that current, to realign your mirrors for your laser beams, to be in meditation. World Day of Prayer is coming up. It's September 8th. It's just a little over 3 weeks away. And in your bulletin are prayer lists. And here's our next task in this service, is to take that prayer list, to hold it, to hold the names that we can think of, our own names, names of people we love, names of people who are world leaders, names of people and pets and beloveds all around the planet. And first, we're going to meditate, we're going to chant, we're going to do the Mula mantra, which I think is one of the most beautiful chants for meditation on the planet. And then we're going to have a little time of silence, and then I'm going to invite you to write on that list. So if you need a list, our welcome team is standing ready at the back. There's also a giant jar of pencils, a can of pencils. So if you need a list or you need a pencil, raise your hand, and our welcome team is standing by. And just keep them up while we continue the conversation. To think about, we have one awareness of the current now. We have one awareness of the place right now in this moment in time. But imagine how much will be in our labor of love, how much will be in the flow, how much we will be one with our serenity after we chant and after we meditate, and how perfect that will be to take the opportunity to write the people on our prayer list. On World Day of Prayer here at Unity of Wilmington, we have a 12-hour vigil, and starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, ending at 9 o'clock at night, these lists are read aloud. So every name gets read at the top of the hour in the consciousness of love, in the consciousness of assuredness and faith that the flow, that the labor engaged is divine. Absolutely divine. So let's begin together. Connie, just turn around for a second. There's David right there. Okay. Let's begin our Mula mantra.
Sat
we feel, we intuit, and we know. As your awareness comes back to this time and this place, I invite you to take out your pencils and pens and your lists, and in this magnificent flow of current, this spiritual oneness, place yourself, place your loved ones, place the names of the creatures and the people you see and want to see in this flow of magnificence. From this moment forward, we are aware and awake and realigned and reassured of our place in the spiritual flow of the cosmic ether. The ideas and the words and the filaments that connect us are strong, and they are true. We are love, and we are spirit. You can continue writing and writing and writing, including all the people on the planet. As we listen to the words of the Master Teacher, Jesus the Christ, Father, Mother, Birther, and Breath of all, create a space inside us and fill it with your presence. Let oneness now prevail. Your one desire then moves through ours as energy fills all forms. Give us this day our physical and spiritual nourishment. Untangle the knots of error that bind us as we release others. Don't let appearances make us forgetful of the source, but free us to act appropriately. From you, age to age, flow the glorious harmonies of life. May these statements be fertile ground from which our future grows. Amen and amen.